This is a training for the MCAS Tactical Communication Kit. In this training, we'll go through what products are included in the kit, the nomenclature of each product, and then how to properly don and operate the products. We'll also show you how to properly maintain, stow, and clean the products when they're not in use. Next section begins now. Now we're going to go over what is included and what makes up each system in the MCAS systems. First, we have the INVISIO V60 system, which starts with the INVISIO X5 dual in-ear headset. And you'll notice this is for the V60 because, again, it has that V60 connector on it. The secondary headset of the system is the INVISIO M3S. So this is a single lightweight submersible headset, and also it has the V60 connector on it as well. So this is a headset that's currently in use with your programs. Next, we have the V60 control unit. So this is what all the cables and headsets are going to plug into. This is the heart of the entire system. So you'll notice you have your headset input right here and your various cable inputs, and then your different keys right here that perform different features with different radios. And then on the back, this is the back MOLLE clip. This is what you're going to use to mount it to your vest. To go with the X5 headset, we also have 6 different sizes of comply tips. And you'll notice that these are also color-coded, and this is so you can easily identify your size. And we'll get into sizing in the next section. Same thing with the soft springs. We have 3 unique sizes of soft springs for each side, both left and right. And they range from small, medium, to large. The last part of the V60 system are the cables. So these are the radio interface cables that allow you to connect your radios. You have a radio for your 6-pin radio, your 10-pin radio, and then lastly, you have a cable for your vehicles. So this was specifically designed to interface with the VIC-3 intercom system. Lastly, we have our simple analog system, which is part of the kit, and that is our U94. And you notice we have the radio connector here. We have a cover, which covers the headset input, and your push-to-talk button is right here. And the headset to go with that, similar to the one you saw with the V60, and I'm pretty sure the ones you'll be getting are in black, not tan. But again, the M3S single-sided headset with the 10-pin impulse connector. The next section starts now. In this section, we're going to go through the nomenclature and parts of each of the products inside your kit. We're going to start with the INVISIO X5. The 2 parts of the X5, you have the lower cable assembly, which is a thick, rugged cable, and then you have the upper 2-wire assembly that leads up into the earbuds. Now with the earbuds, you'll notice that there's a couple key features. You have the cable retainer, and this is what helps hold the actual headset behind your ear. You have a windscreen, and what that does is help baffle wind noise. You have your soft spring. This actually helps retain and keep it secure in your ear. You have a threaded channel, and what that does is that allows the tip or the hearing protector to screw onto, and inside this housing is also the speaker. The next part is you'll notice on the right earpiece only, this little bubble. And what this bubble is the bone conduction microphone. So this is what picks up your voice via vibrations up your jawbone. This microphone located out here, covered by the baffle, this is what picks up your ambient noise. So again, X5 headset, and this is going to go with the V60. The next headset that we have is the M3S. So similar to the X5 headset, we also have a bone conduction microphone. With this headset, we have a sealed speaker, so there's no hearing protector, but again, this is a loudspeaker and where you're going to hear noise. You also have a soft spring, and now with these soft springs, we don't offer multiple sizes. So if this is too long for your ear, we typically recommend users to trim off a couple millimeters at a time until they get that proper fit. And then again, we have a cable retainer, again, that helps retain and keep the headset behind the ear. Now, when it comes to tips and sizing tips, you'll notice we have 6 different sizes. Now, each tip is different in diameter and also in length. So those are the two main differences in these tips. Is you'll have some that are standard length, different diameter, and then some that are a shorter length, but again, different diameters. So this is to accommodate the multiple shapes and forms of users' ears. So once you're fitted properly and have the proper size tips, you're going to want to remember your color coding. So for example, white, this is short slim, black, standard, purple is short large, green is slim, red is standard, and blue is large. So typically we don't see too many people getting fit with blue, but if you do have rather large ears, that's definitely the route you're going to go. Now for the X5 soft springs and the 3 different sizes, again, we're going to get into that later when we go into fitting the headset, but the sizes basically help keep the earpiece comfortable in your ear, but also secure in your ear. So if the soft spring is too long, it's going to poke out, it's not going to stay in, not going to cause the headset to be secure. Same thing if it's too short, it's not going to apply enough pressure. Again, headset's going to fall out of the ear. So we want to make sure we have that perfect combination of both foam tip and soft spring to make sure you have the best fit possible. Next is the V60 control unit. Now with the control unit, we have 4 different inputs on this system. The top one, and the one that's elevated the most, this is the headset input. Going down on the bottom, this is the COM1 input. This is where you're going to connect your primary radio, the one that's capped. This is COM2. So if you have a secondary radio or device that you want to plug in, it's going to go right here. And then COM3, right up by the headset port. This is where you're going to plug in either a third radio, intercom system, mobile phone cable, or any devices like that. So we typically recommend radios on the bottom, intercom systems through COM3 on the top. On the back of the system, we have a metal MOLLE clip, and this is what you're going to use to go into the vest. And this little tab right here will basically lock into the MOLLE and prevent the V60 from sliding around once it's mounted. The next system we have is the INVISIO M3S with our U94 PTT. Now you will be getting two versions of this push-to-talk. The version we're showing here has a 10-pin. You're also getting a version for a 6-pin that works with your 148s and your 152 alphas. So pretty easy, simple push-to-talk. You have your radio connector. You have your push-to-talk button right here to activate the key. You have a cap, and basically that just helps keep water, dust, debris when it's not in use outside of the headset input. And then you have a rugged backing clip. Now another unique feature about the U94 is you'll notice that it has holes here and here. You can actually take the back plate off and pop these out and screw the back plate here. So if you're a righty, you can actually flip it, move the back plate, and mount it on the right side of your body if you're a left-handed shooter. So pretty simple, pretty unique, and very rugged. Second, we have the INVISIO M3S that goes with the U94. You'll notice it doesn't have the same V60 connector on it. It has a 10-pin impulse connector on it. And then going into the headset, we have the cable retainer. We have the soft spring, which again, if the soft spring doesn't fit you correctly, you can just trim off a millimeter at a time. We have the bubble, or what we call the bone conduction microphone, located here. Please do not squeeze or apply pressure to this. Try to protect this when it's not inside your ear. And then this little protrusion here is actually the loudspeaker. So again, this makes up the INVISIO M3S. Next section starts now. In this section, we're going to show you how to properly don the INVISIO X5 and the INVISIO M3S headset. We've also included in your kit these quick guides that also have visual diagrams that show you how to actually don the X5 headset or the M3S headset. So again, if you have to look back on it, you always have this quick guide to actually help you. So the first thing that we're going to do with the earpiece is we're going to take the tip, take the properly sized tip, and we're going to screw it on. We're going to screw it on to the X5. Now a lot of people ask, how far do you screw down? Typically I'll screw the tip down until it actually is hitting the housing of the INVISIO X5. So you notice there's not a lot of gap there. The reason we say that is when you take the headset out, you don't want the tip to stay in the ear. You want it to stay on the headset. Now, to put this in your ear, first thing you're going to do is roll down the tip and get that as flat and cylindrical as possible. So you'll notice the tip is nice and rolled. Second, you're just going to literally place it in the ear, place it into your ear canal, and push as far as you can. You know, I use my thumb. And then the next step we're going to do is we're going to set the soft spring. So if you notice when I talked in the previous section of do I have the right soft spring, well, I want to make sure the soft spring bends down and stays secure under this outer ridge of my ear. If it's too long, it's going to stick out, and if it's too short, it's just going to basically pop out back here and not stick in. So you want to get that proper length. So now that it's in there, I'm going to pull up and out on my ear, pushing the headset in again as far as I can. Once I get it in there, I'm going to take the cable retainer and loop it around my ear. So at this point, the foam should be expanding and fully attenuating your ear, and it's going to sound basically hollow, or basically you're going to go deaf in one ear. That means, hey, I have the headset in, fully seated, everything's good. You also want to make sure that you cannot see the INVISIO bone mic. So if you could see it when it's mounted, the headset's not in correctly. So again, you just need to push it down. If you can't get the headset properly seated, try resizing the tip. Try going with a smaller tip or maybe a shorter diameter tip to make sure that the headset can fully seat into the ear. So I'm going to do the same thing with the second one. I'm going to roll down the tip, place it in my ear. When in doubt, push harder. Now I'm going to seat the soft spring, and then put the cable retainer in place. So that is how you properly don the X5. So again, the foam should fully expand, it should be fully attenuated, and at this point, when you're not connected to the V60, basically you should be deaf. To doff the headset, I typically recommend grabbing it right here, pulling up and out, and that's how you properly doff the headset. Next, we're going to do the single side INVISIO M3S headset. It's going to be similar to the X5, except we're not having to compress a foam tip on the end of it. So again, place the headset in your ear. Next step, and then we're going to again push it in. Now we're going to seat the soft spring behind that ridge, this outer ridge of my ear, and then make sure the cable retainer goes into place. And that is how you properly don the INVISIO M3S headset. So again, like the X5, to remove it, just grab it here, pull up and out, headset comes right out. Next section begins now. In this section, we're going to show you how to properly connect all the cables and headsets and how to operate the INVISIO V60 system. So the first thing that you're going to do is connect your headset to the actual system. And by doing that, you're just going to line up the red dots into the right socket. This can only go into one of these sockets, and then fully seat the headset. Next, we're going to connect our primary radio. And for this example, the 152 is going to be my primary radio. So what I like to do is first connect it to the radio. Alright. Second, you're going to power up your radio. Now, for the 152, to operate the V60, you will need to turn on certain power settings through the menu. These instructions are located on your quick guide in the black section here. So this tells you the steps that you have to go through in the menu of the radio, and this enables enough power to properly operate and drive the V60 without an external battery supply. So again, only for the 152 do you need to actually go through the menu and make sure you have the right settings on it. So the 152, for example, this is going to be my primary radio. So I'm going to connect this radio into COM port 1. Again, line up the red dots, seats right in. My secondary radio, which is the 148. Now, you will have a 10 pin, and this is just an example. But again, this is going to be my secondary radio. For the example, we're going to be using a 6 pin, but you will have a 10 pin in your kit. So since this is my secondary radio, it's going to go into COM 2. Again, you're going to take your cap out, line up the red dots, seat it in. Now, for this setup, it's pretty easy to operate. This is push to talk 1. So when I press this button, it's going to transmit on my primary radio. When I hit PTT 2, it's going to transmit out on my secondary radio. So again, radio 1, radio 2. Now we're going to add a third device, which is called the VIC cable. So, and this is going to plug in to the long spaghetti type cables or the coil cables that you're going to mount into the vehicle or into the VIC system. This quick disconnect is going to plug into that intermediary plug. Now, once the VIC cable is plugged in, I now have the access to actually communicate on the VIC in 2 different modes, and the V60 does offer 2. One is radio mode, which if I hit PTT3, I press hold, communicate, release, I stop communicating. So this is a similar PTT in function as if I was keying on my radios. The fourth button, or the PTT4 on the V60, does what's called latching or open mic mode. Press and hold here, I hear 2 beeps, let go, and now I'm in open mic mode, meaning I don't have to hit anything to key. I can talk freely on the system without actually having to hit the push to talk. To disable that feature, you're just going to press and hold here until you hear 1 beep. That means you're back in radio mode, and you can just press PTT3 on and off to transmit and to let go and not transmit. So again, that's how you're going to operate the V60 connected to multiple radios and while you're connected to the VIC system. Next section starts now. In this section, we're going to cover hear-through audio as well as audio profiles when connected to different radios. So basically, this is how sound is interpreted when using the V60 system. Now, the V60 by nature is parasitic. That means it pulls power from connected radio sources or ground vehicle intercoms that do supply power. Or we have external battery packs like this that can also power the V60. So first, when you plug your V60 into, say, the 152 radio, it's going to automatically power up the system, and your hear-through is automatically going to be enabled. So once your hear-through is on, that's going to be at what we call our natural level of hear-through. So that means how we hear with or without the earbuds. That's our ground zero or natural state. Now, if you notice at the bottom of the V60, there's actually a mode button. And what this mode button does is it cycles the different hearing modes. So if I press it once, I get what's called enhanced hearing. So enhanced hearing is actually 12 dB of gain above my natural hearing. So out on a scout, on a patrol, you want to hear something going on. If you're stacked up on a door, you want to hear what's going on the other side of the door or the window. Really, really cool feature. At all times, when your hearing protection is active or your hear-through is active, the hearing protection is also there. So even though you're hearing a gunshot, it's actually baffled down to where it's not actually giving you permanent hearing damage. It's not crossing that 85 decibel threshold to give you that permanent damage. So even if it's set on enhanced, which is again 12 dB above your natural hearing, anything gunfire, flashbangs, stuff like that, it's still going to dampen it down to a safe level. So if I hit this mode button again, I'll get what's called comfort hearing. So this is 10 dB below my natural state of hearing. I can still hear what's going on, but I'm not getting that constant bombardment of ambient noise. So if you're around vehicles, generators, things that give you that continuous noise, comfort allows you to still maintain your awareness, but not get that basic situational awareness fatigue or sensory fatigue from all the noise that's coming through. Hit it one more time, and now we're back to our natural level. You can also press and hold, and now I have no hear-through audio. So this is good if you're on a vehicle, you're just listening to comms, you don't want to hear anything that's going on around you, you power the hear-through off. Now the system is still functional, I can still communicate and use my PTTs and use my radios, I just don't have the hear-through capability turned on. Another long press and hold, now the hear-through is going to be back up. Now let's go through hear-through settings when connected to radios and how I interpret them. So the 152 is my primary, 148 is my secondary, and the VIC is my third connected source. Now my primary radio is always going to be heard in my left ear. My secondary radio is always going to be heard in my right ear. And when I'm communicating on the ICS, again, it's going to be over in my left ear. So it basically switches left, right, left. So again, your primary radio is in your left ear. And if you're only going to use one radio, you can actually go through the user guide and program it to where your single radio comes through on stereo, but by default, it's going to be mono, which is one ear. So again, primary left, secondary right, ICS, or the VIC is going to be in your left ear as well. Thank you, and on to the next section. In this part, I'm going to cover care and maintenance of the INVISIO X5 headset, as well as the INVISIO V60 control unit. Now, if you're going to be submerging or subjecting the system to salt water, which it can be, what you're going to do each time you get out is give these a freshwater rinse. Now, typically what I recommend when I say a freshwater rinse is you're going to take the entire system and rinse it. Go ahead and leave everything connected, so that way all the COM ports don't get residue from the afterwash into the actual ports. But if you're going to do a rinse, again, make sure everything is connected. If you don't have a cable, make sure the COM caps are in place, and then submerge it and do a freshwater rinse. Also on the earbuds, you can actually dump the earbuds, but do not spray the earbuds. So don't apply pressure or pressurized water to the earbuds, because you don't want it going down into the ear canal here or penetrating through the microphone here. So again, if you're going to do it, rinse them, dunk them in the water, and then wipe them off with a damp cloth, and you can also use a mild detergent as well. So the second thing I want to talk about is stowing the earbuds. So again, the most fragile part of the system are these two little buds. Now, you were given a case. Now these cases were designed to actually stow the headset even if it's still attached to your gear. So you'll take out this little insert, or you can take out the spool, and you're going to place the headset in there and then run the wires out of the box and then close the box. So again, your earbuds are protected. They're protected in the case. You can still leave everything on your kit, but again, make sure your earbuds are always protected. Secondly, I want to talk about cable management. So one of the biggest issues that someone can have is cable management, or they can cause their cables to short out because of the way they routed them on their vest. Now, typically, we like to see nice curved bends like this. A lot of people will do harsh 90-degree bends, and this is what's going to cause your cabling to short out. So don't put a lot of strain on it. Don't make these harsh 90-degree bends on your cables when routing them. Make sure it's a nice loop. So same thing with the headset. Loop it. Don't put it at a 90-degree or harsh angle, or it's going to actually short out the cable. So again, keep it routed, keep it curved, keep them connected. That's it. Thank you for watching, and this concludes our training.